Tonight, we delve into a question that has the world on edge. Is the NATO gearing up for World War III? A recent report suggests a prominent NATO ally, Germany, reportedly has a plan to deploy hundreds of thousands of troops to fight Russia in the event of a future war. You heard that right. As many as 800,000 troops could be mobilized, heightening fears of a significant escalation. The report, published by a leading German newspaper, claims access to a secret document. This document reportedly outlines that German and NATO troops would use ports, highways, and railways to move eastwards if an all-out war with Russia breaks out. Let's just break this down for you. The troops would need to be deployed within 3 to 6 months of a conflict, along with around 200,000 vehicles, huge number of weapons, of course, and other equipment. They will likely arrive in Germany's North Sea ports before heading east towards the battlefields. One pivotal route would be Germany's A2 highway, stretching 300 miles from Oberhausen in the west to Berlin in the east. This route runs closely to NATO ally Poland's border, making it a strategic yet vulnerable pathway. Bridges along this highway could become prime targets for Russian attacks, potentially delaying NATO mobilization. In fact, Germany is reportedly exploring alternative routes and contingencies. Plans are underway to house, resupply, and feed the hundreds of thousands of allied troops passing through Germany. Convoys would have the option to stop for supplies and rest every 300 to 500 meters. The logistical effort of this magnitude would require new powers for Germany's federal police, including conscription to the service and officers for running prisoner of war camps. Just last month, reports claimed that the NATO is expanding plans for several land corridors to move troops and equipment, including American forces, in preparation for a potential war with Russia. These corridors would stretch from Italy to Slovenia, Croatia, and Hungary, as well as routes via Turkey, Greece, Bulgaria, Romania, Scandinavia. It is important to note here that NATO countries in the recently concluded Washington summit reviewed the new force model, which aims to have over hundreds of thousands of troops ready for conducting land, naval, air, space, and cyber operations in the eventuality of a large-scale war. In fact, the review found that 500,000 troops were presently ready for combat. The ongoing Russia-Ukraine war has the entire globe on edge. Several prominent political leaders have spoken on the prospect of the war potentially turning to World War III. Just last week, Slovakia's Prime Minister Robert Fico said that Ukraine joining the NATO could spark a global conflict. I'm quoting, "I understand Ukraine's wishes. It is a sovereign country, but Ukraine's membership in the NATO is just a guarantee of World War III, quote unquote." That is what Fico said in a video on Facebook. In fact, his comments came just a few hours after the Slovakian delegation at the NATO summit in Washington supported Ukraine's membership to the alliance. Russian President Vladimir Putin made similar statements in the month of March, remember. He cautioned the West that a direct conflict between the NATO and Russia would mean that the world was just a step away from World War III. It is important to note that at the recent NATO summit, officials announced the deployment of long-range US missiles in Germany from 2026 onwards, for the first time since the Cold War. The US and the former Soviet Union would have banned such missiles under a 1988 treaty. But this pact fell apart 5 years ago. The 1988 treaty basically banned placing any kind of long-range missiles that could travel between 500 to 5,500 kilometers. This move only worsened the relations between the West and Russia, with analysts in fact saying that the relations are at the worst since the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962. Now, one thing is clear. The NATO is taking significant steps to prepare for a worst-case scenario. But the question still remains, are these preparations a necessary precaution? Or is the world inching closer towards a catastrophic conflict?
To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.